Most conversations about crypto sound very similar in the same. People argue about prices, they argue about charts, and they argue about whether something is dead or going to the moon. But very rarely do people stop and ask a much more important question. What is crypto actually for? Not in theory, not in marketing slogans, but in the real world when things go wrong. Because right now in Iran, crypto isn't being used as an investment. It's being used as a financial lifeline to survive. And what's happening there tells us far more about the future of crypto than any price chart ever could. If you live in a stable country, the financial system feels invisible. Your bank works, your card works, your wages arrive, and your savings sit quietly in the background. You don't think about money infrastructure unless something breaks. But for millions of people around the world, the financial system is not invisible. It's constantly in the way. Limits, restrictions, inflation, sanctions, and sudden rule changes. Iran is one of those places where money doesn't behave the way people expect it to. Iran has lived under heavy economic pressure for years. International sanctions restrict access to global banking. The local currency has lost significant value. It's basically worthless today. And inflation eats away at people's savings. And access to foreign currencies is limited. For ordinary people, this creates a simple problem. Even if you work hard and save money, that money doesn't reliably hold value anymore. And when people lose trust in money, they start looking for alternatives. Not because they're tech savvy, not because they love crypto, but because they need something that works better than what they already have. And recent blockchain data shows something striking in Iran, because Iran's crypto ecosystem is now approaching $8 billion in activity. And that number matters because it tells us this isn't a fringe experiment. This isn't a few tech enthusiasts. This is a widespread usage. When activity reaches this scale, crypto stops being a niche hobby and starts becoming infrastructure. And infrastructure grows quietly until one day it's suddenly everywhere. One of the biggest misunderstandings people have is thinking all crypto is the same, and it isn't. When things get unstable, people don't rush towards experimental projects or flashy new tokens. They move towards Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin has very specific properties that matter in difficult situations. No central controller, it's got a fixed supply, it's got global accessibility and resistance to censorship. Bitcoin doesn't promise comfort, it promises rules that don't change. And when trust is low, predictable rules are valuable. This is where the story becomes much more serious. During recent protests in Iran, blockchain analysts noticed a clear pattern. Bitcoin withdrawals from exchanges surged sharply. This wasn't people buying to speculate. This was people removing Bitcoin from platforms and exchanges and taking direct control of it. That behavior tells us far more than headlines ever could. Because when people move crypto like this and they move it onto cold storage wallets, it usually means fear has entered the system. Let's slow this down. Because when people leave Bitcoin on exchanges, they're trusting the exchange to stay online, the internet to remain accessible, and authorities not to interfere. When people withdraw Bitcoin to private wallets, they're saying something very different. They're saying, I want control, I don't trust the situation, and I need my money to work even if everything else stops. This isn't about profit. This is about resilience and survival. In comfortable environments, convenience wins. I get it. People prefer apps that do everything, platforms that manage complexity, and custodians who handle it for you. But convenience has a cost. You give up your control. And in moments of crisis, convenience disappears very quickly, but loss of control doesn't. Bitcoin self-custody exists for moments exactly like this. Not because it's fun, but because it's necessary. Many people dismiss self-custody as a complicated or unnecessary. And in calm times, sometimes they may not be wrong. But when banks freeze withdrawals, when accounts are restricted, when access is limited, self-custody suddenly makes sense. You don't need permission, you don't need approval, and you don't need an explanation. You just need your keys. Now we need to address this uncomfortable part. Crypto is neutral. That means it doesn't care who you are, what you believe, or how you're using it. And being neutral allows ordinary people to protect savings and activists to move money. And yes, powerful groups to move funds as well. This makes people feel uneasy, but being neutral is not a flaw. It's the same reason cash works for everybody, good or bad. Technology doesn't choose sides, people do. When people can move value without permission, it changes traditional power structures. Governments prefer visibility, control, predictability, and yet Bitcoin offers invisibility if you need it, independence, and global mobility. We have seen similar patterns before in countries with runaway inflation, or regions facing banking instability, or areas under capital controls. And crypto doesn't arrive first, it arrives after the trust breaks. And by the time headlines notice, adoption has already happened quietly in the background. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming price tells the whole story. It doesn't. Price reflects speculation, liquidity, market cycles, but adoption shows up in behavior. People changing how they store value, people changing how they move money, and people choosing tools that work under pressure. Those signals matter more than daily candles. Humans are bad at preparing for slow changes. We wait for clear warnings, official announcements, and obvious emergencies. But systems rarely fail all at once. They degrade, they restrict, and they tighten. And people who prepare early may look dramatic until suddenly they look prepared. In places like Iran, crypto isn't a get-rich-quick idea. It's insurance against what's happening in the region. They probably hope they never need it, but they're glad it exists when it does. This mindset is very different from speculation, and it's where crypto long-term value really lives. Understanding crypto during calm times is a privilege. Learning under pressure is expensive, and mistakes cost more, and emotions run higher, and choices will narrow. Education doesn't guarantee success, but ignorance guarantees your vulnerability. And this is why community matters. Crypto can be isolating, confusing, and overwhelming. That's why we run the Crypto Wolfpack, a place to learn, talk, and navigate this space with other people who genuinely live crypto. No hype, just education, discussion, and shared experiences. There's a link in the description if you want to go and take a look at the Crypto Wolfpack. What's happening in Iran isn't a headline, it's a signal. A reminder that money is only trusted until it isn't. That system only feels permanent until they're tested. It doesn't really matter for most people when life is easy. It matters when systems are stressed. Iran isn't showing us the end of the world just yet. It's showing us what happens before people realize they need options. The question isn't whether crypto will be useful. The question is whether you'll understand it before you're forced to. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video. Please like this video, hit that subscribe button, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. And remember this, the strength of the wolf is in the pack.